When working with WPGenealogy, you'll probably want to start by importing a Gedcom file. Import is an option that's available in the premium version of the plugin, and you may be taken to this directly in the setup options wizard, but if not, or if you want to import at a later date, this is how to do it. Start by going down to the import screen, but in fact before you do that, it's best to start off by adding a tree. A tree is essentially a category or a container into which all of the members of the family can be put, and you can manage their data as a whole. So click add, and we'll start by creating a new tree into which we will put the import data. Once you click add, you'll see the screen here that you can add your tree. You can add an ID. I'm just going to call this Shakespeare because I'm importing a Shakespeare family tree, and the first three fields, tree name and tree description, you need to add something in, but the rest, owner and so on, are optional. You can keep the owner information secret in later reports on the front end, and you can prevent users from importing either Gedcom files or from exporting Gedcom files or downloading PDF files on the front end later as well. Now save, and you can see that we have created a tree. Back to the main dashboard, and we're going to add a branch as well. Now, branch is essentially a subgroup within a tree. It can be everyone in the tree or just some members of the tree, and the default one, Shakespeare, has been created during the setting up of the tree process, and you can use this later on for managing charts and reports. You will need to add a person ID, and there won't be anybody in the tree yet, so you'll have to come back and do this after the import is done. Now let's go to import. So as you can see, you can simply choose a file from your computer, or you can insert a web URL if you need to. We're going to simply add a Gedcom file that we've already got. It doesn't quite show on the screen, but it's importing there. Accept all new custom event types. Your exporting system may have added its own type of events into the Gedcom field, so generally we recommend accepting all new types. The second option you probably won't need as a default, as that doesn't actually import the data, it just imports the event type, so the first option is better. Now select the tree. Obviously we just created the Shakespeare tree, and we'll add the people into the default branch. You can add all the current data in the file we're importing, or if you're overwriting or adding to an existing tree, you can choose to match existing records only, or append all records, which adds some more, or replace some existing data. You also have other options. For example, you can set the surnames all to uppercase. You have an option not to recalculate the living flag. I would suggest that you don't tick the recalculate living flag option here, because by doing so you'll prevent the system from working out who's alive, and it does that by checking if a person has a date of death, and if not, if it is 100 years or more from their date of birth. So it's best to let that stay blank and let the system recalculate, as that affects privacy options later on. You can replace if data is new. You can import media if present, and import latitude and longitude. I would recommend selecting, just in case they're included in your Gedcom file, although media is a bit tricky with Gedcom, and it may or may not work depending on where the media is actually stored, media being things like pictures. And you can also choose to start IDs at the first available number, or create your own ID numbers. IDs are the individual records for individual family members, and you can use these, for example, to start a family tree diagram from a particular family tree member. Again, I generally leave this as the default, start IDs at the first available number. That should be all the standard settings you need to do an import. So once you've gone through all of those, the next thing to do is simply to click the import data option, and it should add a tree. And there we are. You can see William Shakespeare and his family have been added a tree. And there we are, you can see William Shakespeare and his family have been added. Now if we go back to the branch, or to the tree, let's just show you the tree first. You can see 31 people have been added into the Shakespeare tree, which was blank because we'd just set it up previously. And if we go into the branch, you can see the default Shakespeare family tree, and in the edit options for this, we'll now be able to go in and add this starting point person ID. This is what we call the root in WPGenealogy person, the root person, and by using a particular person here, they will be at the top of any family tree diagrams that you generate later on using the charts option. If you know the ID, you can just type it in, but generally you won't. So there's a search option here. We're going to just type William and search, and you can see William Shakespeare, and his birthday suggested to be 23rd of April 1564, and that adds the ID I0001. There are some options to set the number of ancestors or descendants which will show in a tree depending upon which chart you're going to use this branch for, and whether to include spouses for all descendants. Having set the branch settings, you can save those, and you are done with the import and ready to start displaying information.